Okay, this is Painting in Your PJs with Dr. Minette, and I am back again for part two with some live stream challenges and hovercam challenges this morning. It seems like when I've been gone for a couple of days that it always wants to do this. So if you're just watching this, you might and watch part one of the December 26th, and I will label those clearly in the description as well. So hopefully people will be able to find this part two of the video and let me know that you're here and hearing me as well. So what I'm not seeing is my chat on here. All right, so I am going to keep going, making sure we're getting this recording. Looks like everything's working at this point, and we're back. Fantastic. Thank you so much for letting me know that we're back with part two. So I have this card that I've created that I really like the look of. And if you're just joining us, I'm going to recommend that you go and you're watching the replay, go back and watch part one of today to see what we're up to. And so this image is going to get attached in here, but that's still a little wet. So you can see how I'm working on a page. I'm working in different pieces and stages. So the first stage, even before I got on the video this morning, I did some journaling. I added some collage to increase just the integrity of these thin pages. I did some journaling about our question, what do I want to name my emerging self this year, which I decided was the traveler. I have traced an image from a magazine that I am going to glue and paint into my journal. So wanting her to be original and to get that put here into the video. This is all still just a little bit damp, but I love the transparency of matte medium, and I'm almost trying to decide which direction do I want her to be flowing. All right, so I am going to just quickly cut her out and away from her background. Having tech issues definitely is part of doing a live stream. And that's why I'm painting in my PJs. This is all about the opposite of perfection, but just being live, being present. It happens. All right, I love it. She just fits on that page, and I even had this little extra bit of collage paper sticking up there for the top of her head. So I'm going to glue her down, and then we're going to work on painting her. I don't care if I'm getting other paint on here or not, because she's going to get painted over anyway. And with the deli paper, it really kind of disappears into our background here, becomes quite transparent once we glue it down, which is a very handy dandy thing. Putting some of that medium on my page and onto the back of my image. This will help me get her down nice and flat. When I'm lazy and I don't put it on the back of the image, also, I definitely don't get as smooth of an image. And it's okay if she's a little bumpy and has a little bit of texture. That's all right as well. I'm just going to do my best. And I'm not pressing too terribly hard because you can tear that deli paper. Noticing that the pencil on her face, it's kind of glary because it's wet, is getting a little muddied. Again, it doesn't matter because it's all going to just get painted over. Just using up that extra matte medium. All right, so now we get to make some decisions about where we want to go with her figure. Yeah, it's a great technique. You can do it with people, you can do it with animals. And Kay, are you back? Did you find us as well? Hopefully you found us as well on the new stream. Okay, so where am I going to start? This is always the tricky part, is just to take a few moments to pause. And I'm looking for, I think, some brown paint for her hair. I am not a blonde, and I want her to have a little bit more feeling like she represents me, which means her hair needs to be gray as she's stepping on to this journey. So coming in with a dry brush, just kind of blending some of those colors right on the page. And I'll probably get this first layer down and let it dry, and then come back in and add more detail and texture. Again, I can use my photo as a guide. I love the curliness and the wildness of her hair. Might even take that hair even bigger and wilder onto the page. Not loving this brush. All right, so just getting some of that initial hair down. We're going to need a little bit smaller brush here. Just getting some of that hair that's growing here as well. She's got her hair way pulled up with her forehead there. This beautiful wild cascade color. And then I'm going to block in, I think, some of the background color of her hands and her face, not with too much detail yet. I'm trying to decide, where am I going to go with her beautiful flowy dress and her traveler's bag here. Always have more questions than answers when I start, right? More questions than answers when I start. And it's really fun when you're painting people to work on flesh tones and making sure that you're mixing your own flesh tones, which takes a lot of trial and error. So learning to really sort of swatch things out is a really good practice. And I love that I can still see some of the collage and magazine words underneath her, but that may or may not last. So she's got this arm that's kind of disappearing into the shadows here. And you can really see, that's the benefit of using magazine images as a starting place, is that we can see where the lights and shadows are, where I'm going to need to come in and add a little more shadow or a little more light. The light is hitting her straight on her face, so there's a lot of light to her face. So I'm just coming in with some general color on here, and we'll go back to add more of those lights and darks. Again, just getting that little bit of color down on the page. I know you can't see really a lot of the details yet. And you can see here where you can barely see the arm here, and there's a lot of shadow underneath on her hand and her arm. There's shadow underneath her arm here, but there's a lot of light, right? And I'm probably not going to try to even capture all of the detail. I'm just here to really sort of capture some of the flow and the movement of the traveler in this sense of myself as the traveler, the emerging self stepping forward onto this journey of the new year. And I love her curls in her hair. I'm going to just come in and add a little bit of texture. I'll probably go over this a few times. I'm going to let that layer dry, and then we'll, build up the color and curls. Her beautiful flowing hair, but again, I think there needs to be some gray. And I'm not a youthful traveler. I'm definitely a mature traveler. Come in and just darken up some of these skin tones a little bit. Chin to stand out there. So painting people is always one of those things that definitely feels a little fussy, right? It definitely just takes time. And so to be really patient with yourself, to work in those layers, to make sure you're getting the shadows and the highlights. And I realize I didn't get her ears in here, so I may let this come back in with some ears. Some of that darkness around her eyes. I love the huge smile on her face. So again, I'm just putting in shapes, right? I'm just putting in light and shadow and shapes. I'm not at all yet at the layer of detail. I'm trying to decide what color am I going to be wearing on this journey? What color am I going to be wearing on this? And I'm feeling like I want to bring in some nice, oh, my teal blue that I've been using over and over again lately. Can't seem to get enough of this gorgeous golden teal color. I need to go collect the rest of my brushes. I took a bunch of brushes up to my mom's earlier this week. We had so much fun. We made salt dough ornaments, and then yesterday we painted them. Still need to seal them up. They're not quite done. So there's not a lot of detail here. You notice she has a lot of pattern in her dress, but kind of like in maybe the simplicity and the blocks of color here. Still being able to see some of the collage bits showing through. And her hair flows right down over the top of her dress. So I'm going to come back in. I'll add a little more detail here to show that the ends of her hair are over the top of her shoulder and her dress there. And I'm going to come in with just a tiny touch of this. What have I got? I've got some indigo blue sitting here. Darken up some of that teal. So it's really valuable. You can't see my palette, but I'm just mixing the paint right on this piece of newsprint. It's really always a wonderful idea. It was something that I didn't do very much when I was just starting out painting, but learning to mix your own colors, learning to mix your own colors makes your art so much more original and unique to you. Trying to just get maybe some of the little bit of that flow of the dress here. Again, very abstract, right? I'm not trying to be too precious or particular about any of it. And on pieces like this, I often love to come back in the end with my Posca markers to add some of the detail. Now I gotta decide what color her bag is gonna be. But I like the simplicity of her dress. I like the simplicity of the image and the direction that we're going. Me too, Blanca. Me too. Love, love, love. And I would want to remind people that are listening live or watching the replay on January 8th, I have the second session of my Radiant Retreat coming up, and wanted to just say thank you to people that are showing up and supporting this new YouTube station. So I have a $100 off coupon for that, which is PJ's 100. So I would love, which brings the cost down to just $47, to join me for a 4-hour virtual retreat on Sunday, January the 8th, where we're going to be really looking at and designing our radiant life for 2023. So I would invite you to come and join me for a day of half a day of creative play, introspection. And I love where she's going. I love live events. It's my favorite way to connect with people, is to connect with people live. Again, just continuing to add a little more color and layer to give that, letting the brush do the work for me to create that sense of the curliness of her hair. Just darkening up my darks a little bit. All right, I want her face to get really dry before I add any details. So I'm kind of digging the pink and yellow of this traveler's case here. So I'm thinking that I am going to just bring those colors back to the surface, maybe even add some patterns. Thank you, Blanca. I so appreciate that. So I so appreciate that. And the link to the event is in the description of the last few videos. And the coupon code is in the description for today, and it's PJS100 is that coupon code for the Radiant Retreat. And I would love to have you come and play. And I'm definitely going to want to come in with my Posca markers and add some pattern and some detail and some outlines to this, because I definitely want her to stand out a little bit more from the background page. I want to be able to see her as the primary thing here on the page. A little bit more of this yellow. And it's so simple to I'm just using the same colors that were in the background and bringing those back to the surface. I loved the sort of multicolored bag, but again, it's this idea that I'm stepping into, right? Stepping into the new year with the energy of this brightness, right? And this vibrant. I want to feel vibrant. It's a word I often set with a lot, is to just feel vibrant. And I'm just adding again, bringing back some of those colors over the top of that deli paper. And I love how that deli paper just disappears into the background, making that figure pop out even a little bit more. And she's really starting to come together. She needs a handle on her suitcase. And if I'm going to keep with the same palette, not introduce too many new colors yet, I'm going to come in looking for a smaller brush here. So we had fun painting at my mom's house yesterday. Thank you. She is coming together nicely. And so a lot of my paints and brushes are haven't even unpacked. We were tired last night. We came home and just dropped everything once we got home. And then we sat down to watch the movie Glass Onion, which is a Knives Out movie starring Daniel Craig and a whole bunch of other really wonderful people. And it was so fun. It was really both a silly and a very clever movie. Just again, adding a little bit more detail, see if we can get her to just stand out from that background a little bit more. Sense of sleeves, her flowy sleeves down here. Getting those shadows in there. And then I'm maybe going to come in and start just having some fun, adding a little marks to the page. Definitely need to get some white going on here, but just adding that sort of festiveness to the page. Thinking this suitcase also needs just this outline. Normally I would do this kind of outlining with my Posca paint markers, which I love. Of course, they're all way over on the other side. So that's why I love working with the images, Blanca, and being able to really see where the shadows are, right? You know, if we were to take a marker and block out the different places where the shadows are, you can really start to see them. So starting with either a photograph or a magazine image allows you to see light and shadow in a different way. And so it's just a practice. And I'm not trying to get it perfect again. I'm trying to just get that sense of those shadows to give her just a little bit of dimension. And she definitely, I think, needs some flowers or pattern on her dress, but again, I would want this to be completely dry before I started to add any details or pattern to her. What I don't have is a tiny little brush here. Okay, so let's find some white paint, which may also be on the other side of the studio, but we can just use a little bit of gesso here. I finally started painting on a canvas that's been sitting on my easel forever. So some of my paint has gotten definitely shuffled over back over to the other side of the studio. And I want to work on her eyes and her mouth. I may need to go find some of my little tiny paintbrushes. And I'm going to just turn her upside down just because it makes it a little easier to reach. So remember to move your page around in the way that supports you, right? In a way that supports you. And I am going to walk to the other side of my studio and grab some little tiny paintbrushes. So bear with me. You should still be able to hear me chatting with you. Did anybody get a fun gift this holiday season that they're really enjoying? My hubby and I got each other lots of books, so I feel like I have lots of reading to do. Yeah, when you print them in black and white, you do really see the shadows. That's a great way to do that. All right, I can't quite see her lips anymore, so I'm gonna come in and just look at this image. And she has this huge, big smile on her face. Open mouths are actually challenging to paint, but we'll see how we can do here, where we can see all her teeth. And I'm seeing some of this black underneath from the collage image. And she definitely has got a little bit of pink in her cheeks here, but it's a little bit too dark in there. So I'm going to mix a little bit of white with my flesh tones to get some of my highlights going, because her chin is quite white, right? Her chin is quite white. Lots of highlight on that chin there. And lots of highlights on her nose, and she has a very tall forehead with her hair all swept back. We're going to brighten her face up quite a bit from where it started, and I realize I didn't get her ears, and she really needs some ears in here. So let's see if we can bring those ears back a little bit. And I love big earrings, so I might have to give her some big earrings. So again, just trying to get the shapes of things in here, not trying to get anything too perfect, and to bring some highlights in. And back the shape of her nose there a little bit. I often find it more challenging to work small than to work on a big face. So feeling the constraint of the size of the face here. One of the things I struggle with are the highlights, like really being willing to come in and have those colors be really bold. I tend to maybe overblend. So if I think about my creative goals for next year, I want to be more bold in my painting, especially on canvas. And it's one of the things I love about visual journaling. It's a great place to practice techniques and styles. So not only am I deep into sort of the the storytelling of all of this. Mix some more of my flesh tones here. Yes, I remember you saying that Kay, about the wanting more bold colors, and yet it's okay if your palette is soft and that's your natural palette. One of my favorite artists who I love to follow her stuff, Lolly Mill, who's from France. She definitely has this beautiful sort of softness to her palette that I admire, but it's not my palette. And so, it's I think we have to just find, or people that do the really sort of, more grungy look. It's like, okay, it's not my look. So explore with bold colors, and then if it's not you, go back to your beautiful, beautiful soft pastels. Okay. So teeth feel very challenging. I might have to figure out how I'm going to come in and draw those teeth in there. I'm going to go ahead and start to put some color in her eyes. So it's lots of just painting back and forth, painting back and forth. And where she's holding onto this, we can kind of see the highlights of her knuckles. Again, the thing that I love about acrylics is just layering and layering and layering. It is good to know ourselves, and the thing that makes us good artists is, finding what makes us happy, right? Finding what makes us happy and not feeling like we have to do what anyone else is doing. All right, so again, it's about letting layers dry, moving back and forth between things. I have a quiet day ahead. I know, and I got started late because my microphone wouldn't work. So I'm going to linger for a while and keep working on this. So feel free to linger with me. And if you need to get on with your day, I totally honor and appreciate that too. It's definitely been a morning of challenges. Just mixing up some more of my skin tones here. Probably should be adding just a little touch of green in there to make it feel more like me. I have very olive colored skin. Some detail in those fingers coming in there. But again, trying to just really capture the sense of this and not the perfection of this. I like where she's going. Definitely gotta add some white to that hair. 2022 was a rough year, and so I definitely feel like I got a lot more gray hairs this year. And I'm looking forward to stepping into the new year feeling bright and vibrant and packed and ready to go, right? Feeling bright and vibrant and clarity. Today is going to be some housekeeping to clean up all the disaster from Christmas morning yesterday, and I've been dying to have a day in my studio to do some cleaning, so I think that's going to be happening today as well. So I'm looking forward to a day of just really puttering in my house, right? And so oftentimes, I don't know about you, when I step into a journey, I want to step into that journey leaving my house in order. Like one of the things, I think when the kids were little, one time we went off and left the house a mess before a trip and, then came back to that mess and we thought, okay, never again. So when we know we're going to be going somewhere, we want to leave things clean and neat for when we return. And so I'm thinking as I step into and through the portal of 2023 that I really want to leave my house in order, which means some studio cleanup, some office cleanup. All right, she's definitely starting to come together. I want to bring that butterfly back over here as well and give that some detail. She has a huge old smile on her face, that's for sure. Just matching some of the colors on my palette to the background, just adding some of those playful, fun marks. May even go paint over the background one more time, but she's standing out from the page. I'm liking where she's going. And I'm trying to decide where I want to go next. So she needs some eyes. I also feel like I want to come in and just give her a little bit more definition. I'm just going to do that with this pencil to sort of bring some of the back. That's why visual journaling, ouch, hello. I have a kitty asking for attention. Are you coming up? Or are you just here to say hello? Can you come say hello? Yes, good morning. So here's Diego coming to snuggle. So again, just starting to bring some of that detail back in. Getting maybe the shape of her face brought back. Her face ended up looking a little bit long, so I might even come back and take off a little bit of that chin there. Just coming in again, that sense that she's smiling on the page. So I know you guys can't see the detail. Big old smile on her face there. Going to bring in some of this same dark blue that I've been using and bring her eyes back in here. You won't even be able to see the irises of her eyes, and so those are a little big, but we'll let that dry. And again, just keep working back and forth on that piece. And let's get some dimension for this butterfly here. We actually have something that looks like a butterfly tucked into her hair. And maybe some big blue hoop earrings to match her outfit. So just giving her some personality, right? Giving her some personality. She now no longer looks very much like the magazine image, which was kind of the direction that I was going. It's like, how can I continue to just make her my own using that magazine image just as the guide? So now she's looking youthful, playful. She's definitely prepared, stepping out. And some of her nose back a little bit. Too much paint there. Dang it. Just use that to create some of those shadows. I get impatient. I want to go too fast. And then little things like paint getting in a place we don't want it happens. And we just keep painting and painting until we get the color and the shape. Lost some of our detail down here, but that's okay. It's got the sense of her hands standing out. She's looking a little messy at the moment, but we're going to get there, right? We're going to get there. It's definitely at a stage where I feel like I need to let it dry completely. Maybe thinking the top of her head's a little bit too tall, and I had that little extra bit of paper over there. I use my fingers a lot in my work. Maybe her neck's a little bit too dark, right? So just this is the place I get to play and make decisions and continue to fuss with it. And I feel like I want it to have a label and to say on here somewhere the traveler. So I probably might print the traveler out on a little slip of paper so it stands out and add that to her. But I love her energy. She looks ready to go. So I'm going to come back to this piece over here and this idea of everyone's going and that I'm not traveling alone and that there's this, story here that is unfolding on this journey to come. And by now you know how much I really love putting these extra pieces in my journal. And I'm delighted to feel well accompanied on my trip, to feel well accompanied on my trip. So I'm just going to use a glue stick to stick this little piece in. Making sure I get under all those edges. And I want to get under all those corners so that they don't come up on me later when I'm flipping back through the journal. And unintentionally, this ended up being more or less the same colors. Huh. Thank you, Marian. So I'm happy to be here. I'm loving doing this. I'm glad you slept in this morning. Lucky you. Had a little tech trouble this morning, so I started a little bit late, but there's two parts to this video because my tech crashed right in the middle of it. So there's actually two parts to the video, but I'm glad you're here saying hello. And I am just finishing up for today. She's definitely doesn't feel done, but it's getting to that, place where if I don't step away, I'm going to end up making a mess and being frustrated with myself. So knowing when to step away from a piece is always a good thing to know as well. And I'm going to redo her nose there. It's definitely not quite aligning in the right place. So that's what I love about acrylics. We just paint and repaint until we get things looking the way that we want them to look. And Marion, I hope you had a lovely, lovely holiday. Got to spend some time with family and friends. Okay, I'm going to come in. Oh, holy cow. Big drop of water on there. Okay, so things happen, right? So things happen and everything is paint overable. I thought I had dried my paintbrush off, but there was a water droplet that I missed and it dropped right in the middle of her mouth there. I'm going to bring back some of the whites of her eyes here just a little bit. We want to get where I want to get, not we, the royal we, where I'm satisfied with the face. Her nose needed to be just a little bit longer there. And just sort of painting that out, and I'm going to come back and draw that in. Ooh, she looks very strange without a nose. Holy cow. Now we know how we would all look if we didn't have a nose. She also needs a little bit of a white highlight. The blue's so dark that there's no iris on here, but that's okay. So we just want her to look like she's looking straight ahead there. Just bringing back that big wide open mouth. I picked a challenging magazine image to work with. She definitely needs some bright spots on her cheek as she's stepping off into this adventure. Okay, let's see what we can do to bring that nose back. And then I will feel a little more complete. You probably can't even see what I'm doing in the light and the glare. And I'm just working on bringing some shape back to her nose, some more of our nice dark brown going here. It doesn't take a lot to sort of create a nose. Come back here a little bit there. And there I feel like I have this simple face now that I can live with this huge smile on her face that is ready to step into the adventure of the coming year. And I had shared at the beginning that I'm naming my emerging self the traveler. And so this is how I want to step in. I want to step in having packed light with lots of energy and joy and enthusiasm. And I don't want to travel alone. So here I have this lovely group of people. It says everyone's going on the page, traveling with me. So we have one more question for this end of year reflection journal. And then I'm going to be switching gears over the next month, talking about archetypes and the power of story, which I'm super excited to be diving into some archetypal creativity and play with all of you. So thank you for joining me. Sorry about all the tech issues. This is Dr. Minette Riordan, and this is Painting in Your PJs. I also mentioned that I have a coupon code in the description today for the Radiant Retreat, which is on January 8th. It is not too late to join me on January 8th and enjoy a $100 off coupon that is PJS 100. That's PJS 100. So thank you so much for watching and joining me live. Thank you for watching the replay. And I always love to hear from you. So thank you so much. Have an absolutely wonderful, wonderful day. And I will be back here tomorrow at about 7 o'clock. Hopefully, we'll have all the technology working and I'll be here right on time. I'll see you then. Happy holidays and Happy New Year.